Frank Sinatra recorded one of his most famous songs in 1964, and Buzz Aldrin took a copy of that to the moon during the Apollo 11 mission, making it the first song to be played on another planet. This week has been dominated with space stuff. Let's talk about it. Hey, after a long hiatus of lunar missions, we are finally going back to the moon. This past week, NASA awarded SpaceX the lunar landing program. Really cool stuff. And what's really interesting is, we'll see how this works out, but the competition was Blue Origin, which was called the national team, who also had Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin with them, and Dynetics, a much smaller company out of Huntsville, Alabama, now owned by Leidos, who had a completely different design. But kudos to SpaceX. They really worked this one because they have not had a successful landing of this thing yet. It's just exploded a bunch of cool times. So a bunch of big fireballs has equated to a really cool award. Wish them all the best. Got a ways to go, obviously. But here's what the deal is. They were the cheapest bidder by a long shot. And they also are buying into like 50% of the risk going forward. So hey, if commercial operators want to go to space and they're willing to take the risk, hey, that's the way you get these jobs. Really good job for them. And we need to stick with space. I almost feel like this is the movie Armageddon, where Bruce Willis is on the meteor and the clock is ticking down, and it's just that movie all over again. The drone Ingenuity that is on Mars, had a countdown after 2 delays due to software upgrades necessary before it could fly. And the clock was ticking. It was like a 30-day window that this thing is supposed to be able to do its mission. And with only a couple weeks to go, the clock is still ticking. But success. Early morning, Monday, like 3 a.m., plus another 3 hours to find out if it really happened. Ingenuity launches into the air about 3 meters, sits there for 36 seconds or something like that, and lands. The first flight of another aircraft on another planet. Totally cool stuff. Absolutely amazing of what it really took to do this. The science of it I didn't realize that it was like taking off at 100,000 feet here on Earth. I mean, nothing flies that high. We can't even rescue people off the top of Mount Everest, much less 3 times that. And it's just amazing. Just an amazing accomplishment. Kudos to NASA. But hey, drones live on other planets. It's just the beginning of a new era. Very cool stuff. Hey, I want to stay on the space thing a little bit because it just really shows how far ahead the U.S. is from the rest of the world in space. Everybody else is in the bleacher seats while we're playing the A game down on the planet. Other countries can get to Mars and they can circle around in space, but we're the only country that has actually landed on Mars. Not have we landed on Mars, we're driving cars on Mars, and then we're dropping drones off and flying drones on Mars. Nobody else is even close. They can't even get to the planet. So when we talk about global leadership, that's the example of global leadership. Let's keep doing that. I've always said there's money in trash. And there is a lot of trash in space. 129 million pieces of trash floating around the Earth. And so EASA is going to try to do something about it. They commissioned a mission to go up and start to clear out space debris. Okay. Japan's doing that, but I gotta believe that there's something out there that we should be doing. We haven't heard anything about it, so I'm picturing a waste management truck driving along, doing lots of scoop. Hey, things even as small as 1 millimeter that travel at 30,000 miles an hour or faster, if they hit anything, it's destructive. And so there's a lot going on up there, and you keep an eye on it. This is the next thing that we're going to have to deal with. Space debris, because it's going to affect everything, whether it's GPS, microsatellites, Starlink. It's the way we're going to communicate. We got to keep an eye on this one. If we want to talk about climate change, we also need to talk about protecting space climate issues as well. That's an environment that's totally under our control. We need to do something about that, and we need to pay attention. It's not just here on Earth. I believe in clean water. We need to do those kinds of things. Let's not just screw it up in space instead. All right? Hey, let's go to the chip shortage. Ford had to slow down production of F-150, America's favorite vehicle, because of a chip shortage. Apple paused production on its MacBooks because of the chip shortage. You know who didn't slow down? Toyota. In 2011, they suffered an earthquake, which gave them a hit for a chip shortage, which they solved. They solved through supply chain management. And you know who's looking at that now? NASA. Our friend PK even is leading up a supply chain effort where for advanced air mobility, it's about understanding the supply chain mechanisms, not only of suppliers to suppliers, but back to raw materials. It's really super important work, and one that we should be paying attention to and being supportive of. That work is vital to making sure that we don't have these crazy slowdowns. Now, we should already know this, and there are experts in the field of supply chain management. But as a community, this is important, particularly to aviation when we're talking about advanced air mobility vehicles with eVTOLs and new materials, advanced materials, batteries. All those things are going to represent needs for certain raw materials that will translate into parts that we have to make sure that feed that industry. Otherwise, that industry can't take off. See what I did there? Hey, we found out a few weeks ago that people don't like airplane noise. No matter whether it's truly noisy or not, once they see it, they don't like it. So probably should have never asked that question. But hey, Blade is an operator of helicopter and fixed-wing aircraft and amphibious aircraft that actually fly in the Hamptons, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod kind of connectivity standpoint. Really awesome operation that they have. But when you have a hub called the Hamptons, noise is probably on your mind. And they have just purchased 20 of Blade's new eVTOL. Expected to be 10 times quieter than a normal helicopter. That's pretty significant. And they're following a very similar path to what Joby's doing. They are going to get certified as an airplane, not a helicopter, but as an airplane and not a hybrid. And they're on track for a certification of 2024. I'll tell you, UAM is coming, and there's just so much support behind it that people are getting ready and preparing. So well done, Blade. Hey, the last time I talked about a flying car, I was pretty skeptical because it doesn't look like a car, it didn't have bumpers, you know, it was certified as a light sport aircraft, but I don't think it stood a chance of being a car. Well, there's somebody else out there now called askafly.com. For a mere $5,000, you can get in on the GoFundMe project. This one looks less like a car. Very cool, very complicated, but if it works, for a mere $789,000, you'll have a car that can transition to an eVTOL and then fold itself back up again. Hey, some really cool technology. It's almost like a technology demonstrator, and they're looking for certification in 2026. I'm not having high hopes of it, but it is really cool stuff to watch. We're going to have lots more space stuff next week, so stay tuned. Talk to you next time. This week has been dominated by space stuff. And it wound up to be in Palo Alto. I don't like that one.